The villagers discovered Amina was actually selling her own breast milk, so they felt betrayed and prepared to punish her. In a small village surrounded by lush green hills and towering trees, there lived a woman named Amina, renowned for her beauty and kindness. Amina was especially popular as the villagers' milk seller. Every morning, she would prepare milk in her backyard to sell to the villagers. One sunny morning, while Amina was making milk in her large, beautiful bowl, an unexpected event occurred. Kofi and some villagers quietly entered her home and walked straight into the backyard without making a sound. They wanted to see how Amina prepared her famous milk. As they stepped into the backyard, they were shocked by what they saw. Amina was pressing milk from her breast into a big bowl. She did this every day to sell to the villagers. One of the villagers shouted, "Amina, what are you doing?" They all stood there stunned. The milk they had loved so much was not cow milk at all. It was Amina's breast milk. Kofi stepped forward and said, "I told you all that Amina's milk isn't from cow. It's from her own breast." The villagers were shocked, feeling a mix of anger, disgust, and betrayal. They couldn't believe they had been drinking Amina's breast milk for years and couldn't understand why she would do such a thing. Some villagers picked up sticks and stones, ready to punish Amina. "You lied to us," one shouted. Amina, scared and shaking, tried to explain. "Please listen to me. I have a reason for what I did," she pleaded, holding up her hand. But the villagers were too angry to listen. They waved their sticks and raised their stones, their faces filled of anger and confusion. "Why would you do this?" a woman cried. "We trusted you." Just then, someone threw a stone that hit Amina on the head. She fell to the ground, bleeding. The villagers gasped, realizing what had happened. "Stop this madness!" someone shouted. At that moment, the village elder arrived and saw the chaos. "Enough!" one elder commanded, raising his hand. The crowd quieted down, still breathing heavily with anger. "Let her speak," another elder said firmly. "We need to hear her side of the story." The villagers reluctantly lowered their weapons, and the elders helped Amina to her feet. Blood trickled down her face, and she looked at the villagers with sad eyes. The crowd murmured, uncertain and still upset, but they stepped back to give her space. Now it was time for Amina to explain why she had done what she did. With a heavy heart, Amina began to tell her story. "You all know me," she started. "You remember when I was happy with my husband, Musa, and our 7 children? We were a loving family." The villagers nodded, remembering all the old days. Amina continued, recalling the days when life was full of joy and laughter. "Musa and I were so happy," she said, a faint smile appearing as she remembered. "Our 7 children brought us so much joy, but then everything changed," she said, her face darkening with sorrow. "It started with our younger son, Tariq. He fell ill, and despite everything we did, we couldn't save him. He was so small, so full of life. Losing him broke my heart." The villagers listened, feeling the weight of her grief. Not long after, Amina continued, "Musa went out to the farm. He was always strong and hardworking. But that day, a big tree fell on him. He didn't come home. I was devastated." A hush fell over the crowd as Amina spoke. The villagers remembered the day Musa died, a day that shocked the entire community. People began to talk, she said, her voice low. They whispered that I was cursed, that I was the cause of all these tragedies. Amina paused, her eyes welling up with tears. Then one by one, 4 of my children died. Each loss was like a piece of my heart being torn away. I was left with only 2 children. Struggling to keep going, people avoided us, afraid that whatever was happening would spread to them. The villagers hung their heads, some ashamed of how they had treated her. With no support and no way to earn a living, I was desperate, Amina said. I felt so alone, abandoned by everyone I knew. The pain in Amina's voice was clear. Her life had been full of love and happiness, but it had all been stripped away, leaving her isolated and desperate. The villagers began to see the full extent of her suffering, and their anger started to fade, replaced by a sober understanding. Amina's voice trembled as she continued her tale. After losing so much, I tried to find a way to survive. I thought maybe if I cooked food and sold it in the market, I could make a living. But no one wanted to buy from me. The villagers listened, recalling how they had avoided her stall in the market. People whispered behind her back. Amina said, "They called me a witch. They said that if anyone ate my food, they would be cursed or have bad luck." It hurt so much to hear those words, to see people walk by and avoid me like I was a plague. Desperation set in as Amina struggled to provide for her remaining children. I tried doing small chores for the few people who still spoke to me. She continued, "I cleaned houses, washed clothes, and even cleared wheat, but they wouldn't let me near their kitchen or children. They were scared of me, scared of what they thought I might do." Despite her efforts, Amina's situation only grew worse. The little money she earned was not enough to feed her family. "We were hungry all the time," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "There were days when we had nothing to eat. My children looked up at me with sad, hungry eyes, and I felt so helpless." The villagers shifted uncomfortably, remembering how they had shunned her. "Then my last daughter, my sweet little girl, grew weaker and weaker," Amina whispered. "We had so little food, and she was so small. One day she just couldn't hold on anymore. She died in my arms, hungry and cold." A heavy silence fell over the crowd as Amina spoke of her daughter's death. The villagers felt the weight of her action. Realizing how they had contributed to her suffering, they had pushed her away, believing the worst about her, and now they saw the consequences of their rejection. Amina stood before them, a grieving mother who had lost everything. Her story was one of sorrow and desperation, and the villagers began to understand the depth of her pain. They had threatened her as an outcast, and now, faced with the truth, they felt a deep sense of remorse. That was how the story of how I started selling my breast milk began. Amina said, "After losing everything, I felt utterly lost. With my children gone and the villagers' rejection still fresh, I had nowhere to turn. One day, in a moment of desperation, I decided to visit an old woman I had met before, hoping for some kind of help." Amina traveled to the old woman's home, a small mysterious hut on the edge of a distant village. The old woman welcomed her in, her eyes full of knowing and kindness. "What brings you here, my dear?" she asked, her voice soft yet powerful. Amina, with tears in her eyes, told the old woman about her struggles. She spoke of her losses, the villagers' accusations, and how they shunned her. "I have nothing left," Amina said, her voice breaking. I can't keep living like this. I need help. Anything that can save me. The old woman listened carefully, then nodded slowly and said, "There is something you can do. It might sound strange, but it's a way to survive and even get back at those who wronged you." She leaned in closer and whispered, "You can sell your breast milk, but not just any milk. You will add a special ingredient that will make it irresistible." Amina, confused and a bit scared. "Sell my breast milk?" she asked, unsure. "And what is this special ingredient?" The old woman smiled gently. "Yes, your own breast milk. As for the ingredient, it's something harmless but magical. It will make your milk taste so good that people won't be able to resist it. They would come to you, desperate for more. It's a way to survive and maybe, in a way, to teach them a lesson for treating you poorly." Amina hesitated. The idea felt strange and wrong, but she had nothing left to lose. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted. "What if it makes things worse?" The old woman reached out and touched Amina's hand. "It's a harmless thing," she assured her. "You are not hurting anyone. It's just milk, but it will give you power, a way to make them see you differently. Sometimes, in desperate times, we must do things we never imagined." With a heavy heart and nowhere else to turn, Amina agreed. She felt a mix of fear and hope, wondering if this strange plant could really work. The old woman gave her a small mysterious package, instructing her on how to use it. As Amina left the old woman's hut, she felt a strange determination. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. She decided to try this last desperate plan, hoping it might change her fate and give her some control over her life again. Amina returned to her village, carrying the old woman's package with her. She followed the instructions carefully, mixing these special ingredients with her own breast milk. The milk took on a rich, enticing quality, unlike anything she had ever tasted. She was nervous but determined to see if this strange plan could change her fate. When Amina first offered the milk for sale, the villagers were hesitant. Their distrust of her still lingered, but curiosity eventually got the better of them. The enticing aroma of the milk wafted through the market, drawing people in. Some approached reluctantly, buying small amounts to try. To everyone's surprise, the milk was incredibly delicious. It had a unique flavor that was both comforting and addictive. The villagers began to buy more, spreading the word about Amina's amazing milk. Soon, her style became the most popular one in the market, with people eagerly lining up to purchase her products. As Amina's milk gained popularity, the villagers' attitude towards her began to change. They no longer saw her as an outcast, but as a valuable member of their community. Her businesses thrived, and she finally had the means to support herself. However, Amina never forgot the old woman's warning. The milk's power came with a price. As the villagers became more and more dependent on her milk, Amina felt a strange sense of control. She had turned their rejection into a source of strength, but she always carried the weight of her secret. Amina's milk business flourished, but she remained haunted by the memory of her losses and the villagers' past cruelty. She knew that her success came at a cost, and she could never truly forget the pain that had driven her to this desperate solution. Amina's story serves as a reminder of the power of desperation and the length people would go to survive. even when faced with seemingly unsurmountable odds.